Let's face it, it's been a long year. And by that, I mean, there were some really long movies this year. And some of them might have made this list, and that might be the reason that you're tuning in. I feel like whatever angle you're looking at, whether blockbusters, musicals, dramas, comedies, 2024 had so many different options to please everyone. I feel like it was really a terrific year for movies, both when we're looking at some of the most popular movies, some of the big awards contenders this year, and I'm really, really hyped to be counting down my top 10 of 2024. And this is your friendly reminder, this is not the definitive list, this is my personal opinion. If I had anything on here that you disagree with, you didn't like, anything you wish was on here, and you were a big fan of but I didn't mention, let me know in the comments and I would love to continue the conversation below. So let's kick the list off with number 10, A Real Pain. In this movie, Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin are two cousins embarking on a trip to Poland to honor their late Holocaust survivor grandmother. And I connected very deeply and personally to this film because a lot of the locations they visit in this movie I've been to, whether it's the sites in Poland that were impacted by the Holocaust or the concentration camps themselves. It's a very visceral and powerful experience to be on. But the film is about so much more than just this trip. It's also about the generational trauma and Jewish heritage that they honor in this film, but also about the beautiful relationship these two cousins have, the completely different characters that they are, the pull and push away that they have from each other. Jesse Eisenberg is terrific, but Kieran Culkin is stunning. He has so much sadness in him. Much of it he's trying to tap into to discover more about himself. And even though he does some things that push others away, I feel like because of Culkin's performance, we never really judge him because we feel a deep empathy for him. Number 9, A Different Man. This movie is just packed with originality, with dark humor and cynicism, but also a deep love for some of its subjects. Sebastian Stan gives his most audacious performance yet, and this was quite a year for him, with this and The Apprentice, I think, together being his two wildest and probably best performances I've seen. The story has this sense of meta-ness on the human journey and the idea of embracing oneself and how that sort of creates this outcast character in Sebastian Stan's guy. Adam Pearson, also wonderful. The film being a sort of tribute to him. Renata Reinsve is great. The film is just so darkly funny, and the script is just so expertly put together. The way they approach the balance between crazy comedy and dark drama was just right up my alley, and I absolutely loved A Different Man. Number 8, Conclave. If you didn't already think Ralph Fiennes was one of the greatest actors of our generation, Conclave will probably do the trick. Through the examination of this period of the conclave in the Vatican, which is the election of a new pope, director Edward Berger and writer Peter Strawn do a wonderful job of exploring the potential for moral corruption that lies in each human being, the selfish hunger for power, the failure of systems because of the flawed human nature that we see in basically every system. I think the discussions around faith and human choices are so layered. Even the side characters who only have a couple important scenes are really powerful. And I think if you look at both Edward Berger's All Quiet on the Western Front and this movie, they're very different, but they both tackle this idea of human selfishness and corruption and darkness, and just from a visual perspective, he's just a fantastic filmmaker as well. Number 7, Nickel Boys. Speaking of directors completely in command of their craft, Ramel Ross brings such an unforgettable style to this film, whether it's the first-person POV cinematography, which creates a really unique time capsule effect, or the dark themes about the hidden, disgusting effects of systemic racism, especially on young black teenagers in 1960s America. And the cast is wonderful. Ingenue Ellis-Taylor has a small role in which she is phenomenal here. And the main actors who play the two teenage kids, even Daveed Diggs, who we only really see from behind because of the unique cinematography in his parts. The whole cast is great, but especially the visuals, the music, the different narratives and forms of storytelling. The ending, like the last 10 minutes, really haunt you and stick with you, not just because of the greater implications, some of which are rooted in true events, but also because of the powerful character's journey that's conveyed in the script. Number 6, Nosferatu. Robert Eggers has had such an impact on modern day horror and its audiences, but I think Nosferatu is something special even compared to his other works and other adaptations of Dracula and so on. This year was an outstanding year for horror movies, but from the opening scene of Nosferatu, I knew I was in for something on a level of terrifying that was just unrivaled. And let's talk about quite the ensemble cast. I mean, Lily Rose Depp, who I haven't really seen in much, is breathtaking in this film. Just all the physical commitment and emotion that she brings to Ellen. Bill Skarsgård, under all that makeup, I mean, those are some terrifying shots. And his voice, I thought, was like hilarious in a way. At the same time, I was just, so terrified about what was about to happen, but also just didn't want it to end because of how expertly crafted all the shots and scares are. Number 5, Sing Sing. This is a movie about a real-life acting program for inmates, in this case taking place in the Sing Sing prison. Everyone except for Coleman Domingo and Paul Raci are actually playing themselves and are alumni of this program. Clarence Macklin, in particular, is wonderful. Coleman Domingo gives such an unforgettable performance. It's such a small movie in scale, but I feel like this performance is going to come to define him for a long time as an actor, and I mean that in the best way. Sing Sing is genuinely one of the most emotionally moving and satisfying movies I've seen in the last couple of years, the same way the inmates are going on this journey to unlock themselves by acting. The film has a similar effect on its audience. It's hard not to be riveted by the scenes of these actors just performing or telling stories about, in many cases, their real lives. And I love the way the movie blends the real and the scripted. Some of the other movies on my list take a lot of big swings that might not be for everyone, but I do think Sing Sing is a movie that's fit for really anyone with a heart. I think anyone will love this movie and people will be talking about it for a very long time. Number 4, Anora. I feel like in many ways this could end up being a modern classic. Not only is it phenomenal in its structure, but also just the cast, the script, a lot of which is improvised as well. Mikey Madison giving maybe the most unforgettable performance of the whole year. Number 3, Emilia Perez. You know when I said that not all of the movies on this list are going to be for everyone? Because this is a rock opera, crime, thriller, queer, musical drama of sorts. Not like any movie I've ever seen, but I was so entranced by the experience of watching it. I was so blown away by such an original story and an approach. The songs are powerful and meaningful. The direction from Jacques Audiard is so out there and risky and unforgettable, and I totally understand why it wasn't for everyone. But I loved it so much. Zoe Saldana is just terrific. There are certain scenes and songs I've been thinking about for months since I saw this movie. It is so passionate in its delivery of its story and its themes and its performances, and it all creates for this experience that I thought was like no other. Number 2, Dune Part 2. Dune Part 2 takes everything that blew me away about the first one and within minutes puts it to shame. The character arc for Paul, the way he's tempted into darkness and vengeance and power, the way he starts off so aware about it, and I guess the debates about blind faith, and the visuals are so stunning, whether the sandworm or the action scenes and the booming score from Hans Zimmer. The theater experience of watching Dune Part 2 is, I think, something that reaches the heights of only maybe watching Interstellar for the first time back in 2014, which was such a special experience for me. And Dune 2, seeing it in IMAX on opening night, I think matches that level of, a grand space science fiction movie, such a highly anticipated movie, blowing my expectations out of the water. The last act in particular is unforgettable, including Paul's Lisan al-Gaib speech and the big battle, and the last couple minutes especially, the very end, I genuinely think is so chilling, and I think might go down as one of the best endings for any movie of this size. Now, I know we all love Dune Part 2, but I do want to shout out some honorable mentions and then get to my number one film of 2024. First up, Baby Girl with Nicole Kidman and Harris Dickinson. Because of the direction, the score, the performances, and the very self-aware approach to its themes, I had such a fun time with every minute of Baby Girl, which is just packed with surprises. Challengers, I have no notes. The direction, Zendaya and Mike Feist performances, the dynamic with them and Josh O'Connor, the tennis scenes, the editing, the score are all just spectacular. Civil War, another excellent Alex Garland movie with incredible direction and action sequences. Kirsten Dunst, Wagner Moura, Kaylee Spaney, Stephen McKinley Henderson, Jesse Plemons, all at their A game. Inside Out 2, I would say, is the second best sequel of the year, besides Dune Part 2. I think it just about almost reaches the heights of the first film. Beautiful animation, wonderful and touching themes. The Seed of the Sacred Fig, a really resonant film about things that are going on today in the world, and a really powerful condemnation of the Iranian regime and their corruption and oppression of women, as well as the consequences of blind absolute faith in a government or power. The Substance, Demi Moore giving probably her best performance ever. The execution is fun, but thematically powerful and relevant. And the most important glue in all of it is Coralie Farge's spectacular directing. Wicked, a movie I was hardly expecting to like, but ended up just loving. The energy, the musical numbers, the production design, and at the very center of it all, Cynthia Erivo being simply unforgettable as Elphaba. And my last honorable mention will be The Wild Robot, the most beautiful animated movie I've seen in years. The voice cast is wonderful, and the animation and themes are just out of this world. And my number one film of 2024 is The Brutalist. This is a movie I think so sweeping in scale, so powerful in its themes and subject matter, that I think it could end up having a similar impact as some of the most legendary 3-hour epics we can think of, like Schindler's List and Amadeus. I'm not trying to compare the quality of those films. I'm just saying that it's a very similar approach to a big historical epic like this. The movie covers so much about the American dream, about immigration, about creative freedom from the perspective of this architect, but it wouldn't have worked if Brady Corbett didn't take this brilliant approach of making this big epic about coming to America and pursuing your ambition, making it feel like you're watching a nightmare unfold. Not because there's anything outright disturbing in it, but because life after the Holocaust, mere existence, was simply a waking nightmare for these people. And I've never seen or felt an approach to that so tangible as I did with The Brutalist, and I've been haunted by it every time I think about this movie in the months since I saw it. Adrian Brody, Guy Pearce, and Felicity Jones all give career best performances, I would say, but Adrian Brody in particular unlocks to the audience a man who is so shook by terror and inadequacy and an endless drive to prove himself. He's been made to feel like nothing compared to those around him. And this feeling of an empty existence is constantly plaguing this character of Laszlo Toth. And of course, the cinematography, the production design are some of the most stunning I've seen in my life. And the last, I think, maybe 5 minutes, maybe even 3 minutes are such a like tonal whiplash from the rest of the movie. But their restraint creates such an effect that not only reframes the rest of the movie, but honestly had me in tears. So even though it's long, there's an intermission in there between the 3.5 hours. So please, please, please watch The Brutalist on the biggest screen you can find. And if you have already seen it, you know why it's my number one. Thank you again for tuning in to my top 10 of 2024. And I really appreciate you guys staying till the end. Definitely leave a comment if there was any film that I missed here. And I would love to continue the conversation. There's a lot of great movies that I didn't even mention in my honorable mentions, just because this was such a big and great year for cinema. And I can't wait to see what 2025 holds as well.